in it. And people were like, oh,
Safe?
it'd be very helpful if you knew what it was, so then I can go and eat it. And I was like, no, it's just for me. All right, so it does look like the picks are remaining the same. I'm not sure whether or not it was a client issue, but nonetheless, we are back into the draft. Mordekaiser are going to be the next round of ban coming out from Hong Kong Attitude.
Very interesting, coming from HK to ban the Mordekaiser. It's a safe ban, I suppose, but Shinsekai, it's hard to predict what he's going to pick up in the top side of the map since he's what, picked 9 different champions, unique champions in the top side of the map. So I guess HK playing safe, and again, it's still a mystery where this Volibear is going to go, whether or not it's going to be Epic, towards Epic, or for Shinsekai.
All right, so no Orianna being available here for Moonblack, as we're now getting down to our next round of bans. It is going to be a Twisted Fate being banned out here on the side of Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, definitely another safe ban against Resurgence, considering the fact that it's one of Raven's comfort picks in the mid lane, has picked it up 3 times. The next one would be the Orianna, but that is also taken out of the table. So I'm wondering what would the mid lane matchup be this time around, since, again, there's the heavyweight on towards Moonblack, since a lot of the team relies heavily on Moonblack to take off.
All right, so meanwhile for Cardis, opting out of a carry style that we usually see out of him, is going to go back onto the tank, as that is going to be the Ornn lock-in, so playing a little bit more toward the team. That's a lot of front line here, but you need a lot of damage coming out of Moonblack in particular, or else you're kind of relying too heavily on this Ashe. Meanwhile, RSG, I like it. I like the idea. They said, you know what? We got smacked so hard by this combo, we're just going to go ahead and play it.
I love it. I love how, we mentioned when is Raven going to be, when are we going to be seeing Raven on the Galio this time around? And yes, this combo is definitely going to be deadly. I am going to be a little bit worried for Eminem and as well as for Moonblack on this Sylas. If that's going to get shut down, it is possible just because there's so much CC. Boxer definitely can roam in the mid lane and to help out eliminate the key carries from HKA.
And for Moonblack, he's going to be back onto the Sylas. We'll see whether or not his team is actually going to support him, unlike what we saw yesterday, where they kind of all just put the peace sign up and said, later, see you next game, where there was barely any follow-up for his Sylas that was actually popping off, but the rest of the team was just a little hesitant to try and follow up. But all right, Resurgence, I want to see this dive. I want to see this action. I think, if they are able to pull this off, I think that's a big morale boost, and this is very much a game that they really need to win if they want to have a proper shot at making it into playoffs.
It's looking really solid. If they're able to execute it quite similarly to what Machi did to them, visit every single lane, having to not only burn flashes but get a couple of kills, don't even have to wait for level 6 to dive here and there. So it's all down to execution. It looks spicy, but we'll see.
We see there, unfortunately, Resurgence, that's not a spicy record. 1-10 going up against the Hong Kong Attitude 4-7 record. Resurgence looking for their second win of summer. We'll see if they can take it here from HKA, looking to repeat the composition that Machi used against them earlier in the day to try and close out the week with the victory. Why is it so quiet? Okay, we're back. I was kind of wondering, I'm like, our dolly cam's been kind of hiding out there in the wilderness for a little long. I was like, all right, did we break something? Please don't break anything. Oh boy.
It's all right.
I got to say shout out to any of our viewers still just joining us. Of course, we are a little bit late. We had some long games tonight. So we got ourselves only starting our final game here, a little bit behind schedule, but still going to get played out. Special shout out there over to the Resurgence fans that are keeping hope alive for this team, and maybe that hope will be rewarded with a victory here over Hong Kong Attitude. Considering this is very much the Wombo combo that you can try and get. A much more simpler team composition that says, all right, Shensekai, just go even in lane, and then you can dive backline, and we will follow up.
Speaking of follow-up, it's actually, you know, the Sylas pick has been getting a lot of value just because, you know, Galio, maybe even Volibear, and as well as a lot of the AoE team fighting champions have been extremely popular. So having to pick a Sylas here from Moonblack is a lot of value being taken of, especially if you steal a Galio ult, you'll be able to just follow up as well. So it's going to be evening out when it comes to map presence at least.
So there we go. Bot side is going to be matched as Hollow just decides to go buff to buff, as Epic a little bit slower, as didn't actually, well, he did get a leash actually from the bot lane of Resurgence. He's just slow, I guess. Haven't usually paid attention to the full Volibear clear in most instances, as Hawkshot is going to come out and will spot out the Volibear, pathing on over to the blue buff. Just the power of that Ashe, and we'll see whether or not Resurgence are going to be able to do anything with that knowledge, saying, all right, well, if they think they know where I am, I'm going to go ahead and try and steal a Raptor camp.
Yeah, HKA actually, you know, Cardis timed out that extended ward over near the entrance of the blue buff. Now they're going to meet. Raven's there, though.
Unfortunately there for Epic. Isn't able to pick up the big camp, as that is going to be taken back by Polo. As they were pretty aware that Epic might try and push that in, considering Raven had a ward down early. With the pressure he was able to get onto Moonblack, so nothing really gained there. Nothing lost, of course, though, for Resurgence. I'm interested, are we going to see Epic that's a much more, I would say, I'm not going to say available, visible when it comes to his play on the map, considering we saw his Olaf last game pretty much be non-existent when it came to the lane phase.
Yeah, his presence was hard to feel just because Machi had a very overwhelming first 10 minutes, having to find every single opportunity to see whether they can dive or not or gank the lane. And we'll have to see whether or not they can replicate this with the Volibear. It is 3 or actually 4 out of 5 champions that was similar to the Machi composition that RC had to face. Except for the Misfortune, yes.
Except the Misfortune there. We do see, speaking of Mexi on that Misfortune, he was looking for a back. Not too bad on his health and mana, so I'm not too sure what the plan is here. Meanwhile, Shensekai going up against Kara. This is actually very much a promised young talent kind of matchup where, you know, Shensekai has been apparently, you know, rumored to be this highly mechanical player that I know Jensen has a lot of faith in when he joined the team over on Resurgence, and very similar to Skywalk, who says, you know what, he hopes that Cardis will be able to be unlocked one day and be able to succeed when given the opportunity to go on something like a carry. Instead, this time around, he is going to be the tank in the matchup, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, and, you know, Cardis definitely has no problem whatsoever to be on the tank, but yes, it is his first time on the Ornn pick, so I'm looking forward to seeing his performance to be able to set up for the rest of the squad, especially when they do all of these 5v5s. And with that said, we did see something similar, at least, on his Wukong pickup, but yes, quite a different scenario this time around.
A bit different, obviously. You're not going to be a monkey trying to get in front of that Camille. This time, more or less onto that Ornn, and unfortunately Pixie missing out on some CS there. Don't think I didn't see that, mister. Hollow, is he going to make his first appearance? He might get caught out on a ward. Actually, it did just go down, so we'll see whether or not Raven's going to get punished for this. Does have level 6, but Galio isn't really using that ultimate to escape in most scenarios. And Hollow could always interrupt it. That's a big thing, is Raven, anytime he gets into a bit of a fight, he has to be sure that his Galio channel is nowhere close to this Trundle, as Hollow Decides to show himself now. Gonna go ahead, pop that pillar. Is gonna get engaged upon. In comes the double Galio, as that is both the Sylas and the Galio himself joining in on the fight for first blood. Gonna go on over to Resurgence. Eminem, though, this entire time has not been touched. Now they turn on back, and there you go. That's another kill here for Resurgence. Eminem's gonna join the grave, and it is a double kill, and Raven tries to go back. Oh no!
What?
He ends up hitting the terrain, and he gets solo killed by Wing.
Oh dear. Oh my. Okay, that was mid lane versus support. That was absolutely very tough. But yes, RSG at the end of the day still has won the fight and is able to get room and space to get that dragon. So I think it's pretty worth it.
Oh man, our observers are going to show a slow-mo of that, aren't they? Let's go ahead and take a look back. It was Hollow sneaking in through the jungle into the river, and that double Sylas just popping in, making chaos with the Galio ultimate.
Yeah, and Wing, he's like, okay, I cannot reach my 80 carry anymore. It's fine. Let's just try to exchange a kill.
What happened?
And yep, it's basically the taunt kicks in, but you get the more stun. Oh, the dash went
It gets
towards
interrupted,
the wall,
you know.
the head.
There's a branch that sticks out from that tree. You know, just smacked him on the head. Wing is probably on that Braum saying, "How did I live?" So you know what? You take the victory overall for Resurgence. They're able to find themselves 3 kills in an early skirmish with a composition that looks like they have an idea. We know what we want to do. We want to go for dives. We want to try and make plays. We are fine in the chaotic team fights.
And the perfect scenario, I mean, the perfect thing why Misfortune fits this comp in general is that once they do the dive, all you have to do is activate that bullet time. You don't have to sacrifice getting turret aggro or something, and just have to get a safe distance, get the AoE cone, and you're good once the CC just chain locks HKA. In the meantime, though, looks like Rift Herald is in control in favor of RSG, and HKA will have to give it away as they're not in position to do so.
Interesting here, too, that HK are actually not willing to try and go for a fight early, especially the fact that it is only a level 5 Leona as well as a level 5 Misfortune. Level 6, though, is hit here by Boxer. Let's see. Does Resurgence just play hyper-aggressive here and try and go for a play on Takardis, try and get some turret plating on over to Shensekai and unlock him onto the rest of the map?
Yeah, Cardis definitely has to respect the fact that there's a lot of members already on towards RSG. HK making their way to top side.
Call the Forge
Trying
God.
to clear the waves.
Trying to clear the wave, but they do get enough damage that if Epic wanted to, could pop the Rift Herald. Interesting that they decide not to here. I think you want to try and get as much gold as you can onto Shensekai, as he's going to go ahead and go back to base. Meanwhile, bot lane, actually, Eminem's getting solo plating, so I would like to see Resurgence try and do this now. Epic actually just wants to jump on in. In comes the Galio ultimate into another jump from Epic himself. And that's going to be the kill getting taken on down. Unfortunately, Mexi, not a whole lot of mana himself. Moonblack joins on in. In comes the arrow. Epic finally pops the Rift Herald, saying we are for sure wanting to take down this tower early before Eminem can try and take it himself.
And HKA, actually every single team having to blow all key ultimates already. That is the go signal for HKA to retreat and give up that tower. And yes, while Eminem did have solo experience, solo gold, and funnel and plating funnel there, and this is the combo we were talking about. You dive in, Mexi doesn't have to be in range of any sort of tower aggro just because you just activate that bullet time in that manner. And with that said, RSG can just rinse and repeat this sort of strategy. It's all about HK having to adjust. And the fact that we mentioned, if Moonblack doesn't have any sort of kill or doesn't take off in the next maybe 10 minutes or so, that's the time HKA would seem a little bit lost.
So we'll see whether or not Resurgence is going to continue repeating this strategy of just pretty much waiting for their ultimates to come off cooldown. Next Dragon as well. Going to be coming up in about a minute. Going to be an Ocean Soul. Heck, maybe Resurgence get even luckier and they get some Cloud Dragons to help with those ultimate cooldowns. Eminem, meanwhile, was able to pick up a couple of turret platings for himself, and that gets solo gold onto the Ashe, so it keeps him in line with about Mexi. Of course, Mexi has a little bit more impact during team fights. Eminem, though, single target damage over the long term will end up working in favor of Hong Kong Attitude. But see, Raven already rotating into position, already seeing that there's pings coming out, maybe looking for a play, maybe trying to force something here as Hong Kong Attitude are still recovering.
Yeah, 30 seconds on the clock for the Ocean Drake to spawn. Raven will have his ult in a few seconds, but for the bot lane, they're prime and ready. They're all online when it comes to engaging into this fight. What's worrisome, I suppose, is that while Eminem does have that single target CC on the Crystal Arrow for RSG, there's 4 melee champions on that side. The volley will definitely have a little bit of value when it comes to slowing out these melee champions on RSG.
Resurgence, though, going to go ahead and be the ones to start up this Dragon, looking to try and stack towards Soul. Could also get Infernal if they are lucky, but let's see. Hong Kong Attitude, how do they look to respond? All 5 members in nearby. Boxer gets tagged out. Zenith Blade goes in onto Wing, as well as Eminem. Jumping into the fray. Bullet time is there. Into the backline, though. Moonblack goes with that big ultimate he stole from the Bear, and Hong Kong Attitude looking to clean up themselves. Unfortunately, Raven can't do much as Wing again trying to escape with his life. Not going to happen this time. Raven's able to get revenge, but for the rest of HKA, it's a triple kill onto Moonblack.
And just as we were mentioning around the 3 minutes ago, is that, okay, Moonblack, once he doesn't take off, it's a little bit dire for HKA, but now he has 3 kills on the bag, and what usually happens is that it's a great, not only a great morale booster, but one of the key players from HKA is, you know, doing some work. And what's interesting from this is that the channel of the bullet time wasn't fully, they haven't gotten full value just because of Moonblack just creating chaos in the backline.
Unfortunately, too, though the bullet time is good for these tight corridors, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage just yet unless you get that full channel off. Like you mentioned, you need a little bit of crit chance in the build. Usually once you get your Essence Reaver as well as the Infinity Edge, that's when it starts to come online as far as damage. And maybe RSG getting a little bit too confident as early on, unless they are able to take down the squishy members being Moonblack and Eminem, it's going to be hard to fully take back these fights.
Yeah, that's the thing. They weren't able to burst someone down at least. When it comes to the Scalio pick, there's still a lot of damage, especially when it comes to the early game. You pair that up with what we've seen before with, you know, on this Camille pick and as well as the Volibear, but it was a little bit scattered. And again, if you don't have to funnel, if you can't funnel your damage into the key members, especially towards Moonblack, then the chances of winning a team fight would be very slim for RSG.
So yeah, primary targets do need to be hit. You can throw all that damage out onto tanks, and HK will not care. We'll see here, though. Rift Herald going to be spawning in about a minute. Maybe see another fight take place as cooldowns are available. Shensekai. Guess who's roaming down here, Bud, as he's going to get that hook shot to try and get himself back to safety. Ends up using the Hextech Ultimatum into a flash, but unfortunately not enough distance between him and the Call of the Forge God, as Hollow is able to pick up the kill, and they keep on knocking here toward the second tier tower.
Yeah, this Trundle pick has definitely a lot of value. You've got 3 beefy characters on the side of RSG, and to help soften things up, and Shinsekai dual ability is just gonna be also air quote stolen by Holo as well on this Trundle pick. It's a little bit scary for RSG at this point.
Unfortunately for Shensekai, even when he's on a carry, he's always seeming to be the target of the opposing squads, as unfortunately nowhere for him to really run. Meanwhile, though, you do see Cardis looking to knock down the second tier tower, and this really prevents the Camille from, coming online and being able to be that split push god until a little bit later on in the game now.
Yeah, exactly. Having to speed up the laning phase, I suppose, by HKA, not only destroying the first tier tower, but also the inner tower at the bottom side of the map. So RSG has to keep an eye on the bottom side a little bit when it comes to the waves, and therefore HKA can plant a little bit more deep vision when it comes to the red side jungle of RSG.
So Mexi just going to go ahead and clear out of ward. We'll see now with RSG if they're able to get anything for this Rift Herald. Unfortunately, too, they have themselves a gold lead, but it has been turned on its head. Now a 2K advantage going back over to Hong Kong Attitude after 2 back-to-back fights going in their favor. And it feels like RSG, they've been kind of timid since they've realized, okay, we can't just throw everything at the kitchen sink and expect to take a win. Now realizing they have to wait for some of these items to come online before they can become real threats.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult now, considering the fact that they weren't able to get a lot of value out of the first 10 minutes of the game, I suppose, to constantly dive, especially bot side. I think it was only that one instance at the top side of the map, and therefore HKA, after getting that triple kill from Moonblack, it became a little bit more even on the power level side.
You also got to think, too, with all that pressure that came out of Resurgence early on, you know, trying to knock down that tower early on top side, the fact now that, you know, Shensekai is kind of stuck having to babysit some of the lanes, he did want to try and get a little bit more unlocked, but now he has to match Cardis wherever he goes because he's down in CS as well as just down in the matchup until he gets that Trinity Force, which is still going to be about another 4 to 3 minutes. Dragon is spawning as our soul for the game is going to be the Cloud Soul. Rather important actually for Resurgence, as the extra CDR on the ultimates will help them out greatly. Look at this, Hong Kong Attitude, they're the ones that want to try and start things up, and we'll see how Resurgence try and respond, get Cryo back into the mid lane. They decide here just to try and take the tower, which sure, you're able to take down the tower, but you do trade back one of these Cloud Souls. And you gotta understand, if you want to play toward the Cloud Soul win condition for your team, it's Elder Soul, you want to try and get that as fast as possible, and Hong Kong Attitude just delayed you by 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely perhaps a confidence decision, I suppose, where RSG recently lost this other fight, the recent fight that they had to encounter against HKA. And normally for RSG, they like to create space, which is in the form of topside. They like to pressure topside and then removing at least that inner tower. Most of the time we see Raven do that split push. But at the moment though, you're right, for HKA, they're 2 Dragon points away from that soul, and RSG definitely gonna have a harder time getting there.
You'll also see their Magi is completed for Moonblack, looking to start stacking up on that Silence. So if he's not shut down in the next incoming fight and he picks up a kill or two, it could be a bit concerning. You'll see Eminem finishing off his Pork, so a single target damage onto something like that Volibear as well as Regalia. He's going to be doing pretty good for himself. And we kind of go back into this lull state, which we kind of feels eerily similar to the game we just saw with Alpha actually up against Berjaya.
Yeah, it's all about having to wait for objectives and then fight there and then. It's one of those things where, okay, we already had the lead earlier when it comes to the fight, and therefore play a little bit safe and farm up a little bit. Because for HKA, I don't think they're going to be pressured. When it comes to the scaling, we can see how thick the healings can be for Moonblack and how much Sylas has been very popular and has been working out for most of the teams in the PCS. So that's the reason why HK isn't threatened at all, to make moves and just wait for the next objectives and then act there.
See whether or not they're going to try and do that for these objectives. Here we go, though. Baron is available. Back on the board. Resurgence still waiting on that second item for Mexi. Does have the most gold in the game. Let's get that Infinity Edge alongside the Essence Reaver. Going to be decent damage coming out from that ultimate. And an okay ward line actually coming out here from the side of Resurgence. Playing defensively. Don't want to see Hollow try and sneak his way on over. But for now, it's kind of a waiting game, it feels like, for Mexi's item, and then whether or not HKA will allow Resurgence to try and take some of these fights.
Yeah, meanwhile, you know, Eminem, Bork, and Runance already completed, so HK can be a little bit comfy when it comes to the fights later on. Especially, again, we did mention, there's most of RSG's composition comprises of melee, while Eminem has to be afraid of how much can be at his face, there's still a bit of CC that can help and peel in the form of Wing and as well as Cardis.
See there, Moonblack actually stealing away the Leona ultimate. So may actually decide to try and go for a play here with Resurgence on the back foot. Not knowing whether or not that Leona ultimate's going to be popped. Can be paired well with the Ashe ultimate as always. Also to note, Cardis has started to upgrade his items now onto his Sunfire Cape as well as Mask being upgraded. And then the upgrades are going to start rolling into some of the members elsewhere on Hong Kong Attitude.
And that's something RSG has to respect, because eventually it'll pile up and there's going to be a lot of value over this Ornn pick as the items are going to be upgraded anytime soon. And RSG will definitely have a harder time when it comes to the damage department. Yes, Raven on this Galio is scary at the early stages of the game, but will eventually fall off and will definitely not be able to catch up with Moonblack's power output in the AP department. And the fact that you have Holo as well to soften up the tanks on RSG's side is definitely another scary option for HKA to take advantage of against RSG.
Well, there you go, RSG. Mexi has finished his second item. Now it's kind of an okay go time for them. As long as he's going to get that full channel off, as Cloud Drake is going to be spawning in 30 seconds. So there's that choke point that they can fight over. Let's see if Resurgence feel confident enough to try and go for this. We have yet to see the Camille ultimate combo, other than once, as Resurgence themselves are all walking together into the river. I don't blame HK for the question mark pings, but it looks like the play is, all right, can we go ahead and try and get some damage on topside tower? Is that what the play is here for Resurgence? They'll lose out on this Drake and give that one back over to HK, it seems.
Yeah, they've done this time and time again. I believe, I don't remember if I saw this in spring, but yes, they've done this quite a bit in summer, actually having Raven split push, but this time they bring the whole gang. But yeah, HK getting the third dragon for themselves, and RSG gets a tower?
They get a tower. They were thinking about trying to cheese the Baron, I think, but then they realized, okay, we're on top of a ward, never mind, and there you go. Hong Kong Attitude get their third dragon of the game, and a bit disappointed right now with RSG is your Misfortune finally hit that mark where she is supposed to be very useful for your team fights, and we're not seeing the dives come out. We're not seeing what makes this composition work.
And HKA managed to rotate quickly, not investing 5 members on the dragon. Once they sensed what RSG was trying to do, they sent HKA, some of the HKA members, to match RSG at topside, and that's the reason why RSG wasn't able to get as much value. And yeah, this is RSG. I'm a little bit worried, and time's running out, especially at the 4th Dragon Soul point for HKA. It's gonna be a do or die situation where there's a lot of value on towards ults from HK that they would gladly dish out twice in a long drawn fight, if ever, especially in the later stages of the game.
Well, yeah, like if you're HK right now, you're totally fine with.
Are they going in?
Okay, Moonblack, that's aggressive, but there isn't a knock-up into the call. The Forge God is available, is going to get the knock-up. Bullet time was there into the Ashe Arrow. Here comes that bear, but still no one on the side of HK falls until now, as Moonblack will bite the, eat the, he gets taken out. He was trying to dive in onto Mexi. It doesn't work out. And with that, Resurgence are able to find themselves a kill and another tower.
It's very interesting because we're relying on Resurgence to start the fight, but what happens is it's HK that does it, hoping to see whether or not they can find a quick pick. The biggest problem here is that Eminem wasn't around, Polo wasn't around during the duration of the entirety of the fight, and that's the reason why this engage was so awkward for HKA.
So there we go. Resurgence are able to find a fight after HK are the ones that actually force it. So maybe a little bit of concern there for Hong Kong Attitude, saying, okay, maybe we're not as strong as we are, and maybe for Resurgence, that gives them some morale and maybe some confidence, saying, actually, we can start fights. We just won that one that wasn't by us, so let's see if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, and Moonblack lost all of his Magi stacks, and it's a little bit sad, I suppose, after getting that 3 kills earlier. But now for HKA, after that fight, I feel like it might discourage them a little bit. Maybe not, as Holo is trying to sneak a gank, I suppose. But now, Resurgence having a little bit of control back, at least after that fight.
So we'll see if that's going to be the case. Eminem wanted to push on up. Resurgence, though, still holding back, it seems, on their side. And just kind of going back to a little bit of that, you know, sleeper kind of game, it seems. Like, I don't understand what it is with Resurgence. They have a team that can be proactive. They have a composition that should be proactive and a team that should be trying to fight for objectives. And we see them only being reactionary. This is starting to look exactly how they did in their previous game, where Epic just wasn't all that visible on the map. And even stuff like this, where they're all grouped up together, that should be an instant go button for Resurgence, but it's just not the case.
There's even a flanking ward for Shinsekai as well, placed advanced on the lane, on the mid lane, but
they're going to get
it seems
engaged
they're still
upon.
very hesitant. There we
A
go.
Boxer, that's a lot used onto the support, and that might be the turnaround. If you are HKA, you better start running. See, there you go, Resurgence. This is a 4v5, and now Shinsekai enters in onto the fray, doesn't take down Wing. They do trade back one. Maybe the target selection is not where it needs to be. This team composition can, in fact, work, but not when you focus the wrong members of Hong Kong Attitude.
And as we can see, it's Cardis, Holo, and Wing that were the casualty. Cardis, the almost casualty. Moonblack ain't stopping.
Oh, Moonblack, he's going for a ride as Epic brings him back onto the tower, and that's going to be stunned just right there. But there's some decent health regen coming back out from Moonblack, and if you do not take down the Sylas or the Ashe, it's just not going to work out. Let's take another look at the fight, because it looks promising for Resurgence. It's just the target selection isn't there.
It's, yes, a little bit awkward, as Wing did a good job of shielding from that bullet time, and unfortunately Shinsekai was a little bit exhausted there, and the target selection, just as you mentioned, Eminem untouched. The tanks were the ones that were in trouble, and at the end of the day, it's the key players, the key carries that still survive, and not a single dent on their HP.
And it hurts because this composition has like the easiest target selection in the game. It's called a Camille ultimate. You Camille ultimate Eminem into a Galio ultimate. And if you did that 10 minutes ago, this game could have had Baron by now. But like this, it looks like Hong Kong Attitude, they're going to be able to pick up their third Cloud Drake, pick up the Soul. They also get some extra move speed, 30% cooldown reduction on the ultimate. Ashe loves it, and upgrades continue to roll in from Cardis to the rest of his squad.
Yeah, definitely more value as well. Not only for Cardis and the rest of the squad, but also for Moonblack on whatever heavy engage ult he'll decide to steal. Either the Galio ult, perhaps maybe even Boxer's ult for the Solar Flare, which is going to add up on top of the Ornhorn, and as well as the Crystal Arrow from the Ashe. And Resurgence thinking about starting the Baron, it seems.
They keep thinking about it. They like auto attack it, they take some damage, and then they have to back off because Hong Kong Attitude usually see it taking place, and Shinsekai is going to go back to base. As there you go. Kind of back into this lull state. The longer this goes, the better it is for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, I mean, look at Cardis. Cardis, he actually has that Thorn Mail in the bag right now, just because of the fact that, again, when it comes to that AP damage, Cardis just has to watch out for the AD coming from RSG. Therefore, it's going to be a little bit tricky for RSG when they go full on. And again, that's what we saw. A lot of focus on towards the tanks, as they could not reach Eminem at all. And the fact that, sadly, Shinsekai, it is definitely his job, as he has that backline access when it comes to the teleport plays. But unfortunately, he exploded into the damage, as HK just funneled all that damage output towards him once they saw him teleport.
So Resurgence go back into this ARAM style of setup. And fortunately, it's now not exactly what you're probably hoping for, but here we go. Moonblack is also able to pick up a Galio ultimate himself. We'll be able to use that if he wishes to as well. And we keep going back into this state. I don't understand what it is with some of our lower ranked squads that feel like this is how things should play out. Like Hong Kong Attitude, this is their play style. This is what they should do with their composition. Whereas Resurgence, it should have been go, go, go when you got that second item onto Mexi, who also went for a Death's Dance. That's a little bit questionable. Maybe he wants some more attack speed. Doesn't have a whole lot himself now, as there you go, Hong Kong Attitude. They're going to be the ones that actually start this one off. M&M with single target damage. Resurgence, they're just not going to react. They're not going to react to a possibility for this. Finally, they pulled the trigger, but M&M is able to eat up so much damage. Galio ultimate is going to be used. Raven can't use his own. There's no re-engage, even though they were getting shredded and debuffed by Baron. They just refuse to pull the trigger on the side of Resurgence.
And there's 2 minutes more or less on the clock for that Elder Drake to spawn, and it seems to me RSG's call is to continue to push bot side, as Shinsekai does have that teleport, and so is Raven. Now it's going to be a temporary 4v5, as Shinsekai's still working on bot. Baron's getting shredded.
Cool, you're on bot, you need to teleport in onto this fight, but Moonblack already picked up the Volibear ultimate, slams on down, able to just rip apart Boxer, and Resurgence just let this go for free. They say, all right, we'll take an inhibitor tower, even though they, in theory, should have a better team fight. Moonblack wanting to flash over onto Mexi, forces his flash. Cardis is actually back to stop this push, and they will not be able to pick up the inhibitor itself. HKA, though, still on the hunt, trying to slow down Mexi. Ultimate gets popped immediately. Raven forced to use his cleanse that he could use, and Mexi, whew, this is the power of Moonblack. Once he has that much CDR on his ultimate from the Cloud Soul, he can just continually take.
Yeah, look at the hijack. It's already almost back to half off of cooldown, and it's going to be perfect. It's going to be online on time for the Elder Drake to spawn. And here, I thought they would have gone with Shinsekai's teleport, or they would have went with an all-in, because unfortunately, cooldowns were not online. Solar Flare wasn't on. Bullet time wasn't on. So RSG had no choice but to stand there and watch as the Baron dies in front of them.
Because they had this Camille on a side lane, which is supposed to be your Galio delivery system. This combo is actually broke once you get it rolling. But unfortunately, the ball just stops dead in its tracks when it's in the hands of Resurgence. And now teleport will come out here from Moonblack, who's just going to be a consistent threat that I don't think anyone on Resurgence can really deal with at this point. And even see, Shinsekai, why are you trying to take Krugs at this point? In comes the ultimate, you're just going to get knocked up, and there you go, nowhere to run. Puts himself back into stasis, might be able to get himself over towards safety. Is going to be the case. Nice, actually, decent comeback possibly. But Moonblack immediately jumps in onto the back line, but there goes your ace. Instantly a triple kill. Make it a quadra kill. Make it a penta kill from MMN, and there you go. That's why you need to kill the damn Ashe. The ace comes through from Hong Kong Attitude, and that will be game, set, match. Dominating turnaround coming out from HK.
What a way to finish the game. A pentakill from M&M. I mean, that was such an explosive finish. And unfortunately, it all started with having the collapse from that Baron towards the bottom side of the map. HK had full control, and Mexi couldn't do anything because there's just too many people up on his face.
Oh boy, had myself a proper voice crack there at the end. Of course, it's our very final fight of the weekend.
The last, yes.
Too much left, but yeah. I don't want to say too much else because I'm just getting angry when we watch Resurgence play. That's kind of been the issue as of late. I really feel like, you know, you're supposed to have this Camille, you're supposed to have this Galio. Like, just repeat what Machi did. Machi showed you how to play this comp to a T. You just Camille ultimate. Then you go in with the Galio. Boom. Boom. Easy. That should be an easy combo for Resurgence.
I think it has something to do still on their spring confidence issues. I think it's starting to come back or never left because the go button requires having that go confidence, but I think there's a lot of hesitation on the side of RSG, and I think that's the reason why sometimes they have to wait for the opposite team to do something. That's the reason why they're reactionary.
And it's doomed from the start here if Shensekai is the one getting caught out, because he's supposed to be your main engage. The turnaround here isn't too bad, but you just see Moonblack is able to shred, and then at that point, Eminem was just never touched.
Eminem was never touched, and yes, you have backline access at least in the form of Camille, and you keep saying yes with that Galio, but unfortunately, at that time, Eminem has a Guardian Angel, and if you didn't kill him before then, you can't kill him now.
And Eminem will be picking up our MVP. Why not? He had himself pent. I actually feel like Moonblack did very well that game. But, you know, MVP, gotta get the Penta. So why not? Eminem will be getting it. So congratulations to him, as well as Hong Kong Attitude, for actually finding the victory in a rather crucial match for Resurgence. That will, again, force Resurgence down to now a 1-11 record. Rough to say the very least, and that's also a game that it feels like they should be winning, because now, like, you take a look at the standings as far as what's above them, they can maybe try and take down Liab once again, but HK, that's right above them, tied in a four-way tie for fifth.
那其实队伍在第二轮的状况和第一轮状况比起来，看起来差蛮多的。你们队伍上面是发生了什么事情？
So it seems like your team's performance in the second round is kind of different from the first round. You guys were performing a little bit not as well. So what's happened?
就我们队伍的上下限很高跟很低，所以我们可能有时候很强，有时候很弱，什么都打不过，就要看我们怎么调整自己的状态为最好吧。
So our team have a very high ceiling, but also a very low ceiling. So it depends on how our team's condition is. So the best way is to fix our condition to the best way possible.
好，那第二题的话，想要特别针对辅助位的部分，就是你跟 Tak 就是怎么样决定谁去上场？是在面对不同的队伍去做选择吗？还是根据近期的团练的表现去做决定的？
So you and your other support player Tak, how do you guys decide who to play? Is it based on scrims, your performances in scrims, or based on which team you're playing against?
就看那一周的团练状况吧。而且他们之前在连败，所以我们决定改变一下气氛，所以上我了。
It depends on the week scrim practices and how we do in scrims, because they were on a losing streak, so that's why I was playing this week.
OK， 那当然也恭喜你们拿下这场比赛的胜利，也感谢翻译，也谢谢 Win 接受我们这一次的访问。那 HK 在赢下这场。
And there you go. That kind of goes in line with what Skywalk has said about his squad, where they feel like, you know, a little bit inconsistent time and time again. So at least they're happy. They are able to pick hope the victory over RSG, and a much needed victory, as that now forces a four-way tie now for fifth.
Whew. Yeah, it's definitely very tough for the bottom teams having to scrape for the last remaining points. But yeah, there's still a couple of games left for the second round robin at least.
Yeah, second round robin. Let's go ahead and take a recap of what happened over the course of our second day of week 5. Alpha not able to get the upset over PSG, as HQ was, though, able to make the run back in that barn burner of a second game that we had. If you guys did not tune in for that, I suggest taking a look back on the VOD, and a lot more action. But here are our standings as we start to close in toward our final 2 weekends of summer. Taipei J team at the top with 10 wins, 2 losses, followed by AHQ and Machi tied 1-1 apiece, which is also when it comes to their head-to-head, so we might even see a tiebreaker there. PSG, again, losing form this week and dropping 2 games they should have actually taken. And then, like I mentioned, that 4-way tie for 5th place.
Yeah, and the bottom 2, just as we witnessed for our last final games of tonight, we still have Liab and RSG, who have yet to score another win on top of that 1 win that they've regained from the first round robin.
And there you go. And taking a look toward our matches next week on our first day, kind of a grab bag. We have a lot of teams kind of vying back and forth. I don't know if we have any necessarily super close matchups, but you could go ahead and check out that Alpha versus Hong Kong Attitude game. That could be a bit spicy themselves, and you never know. Could have an upset or two, as we did when it came to the action this week here on the PCS.
Yeah, it happened before. Liab versus PSG. So anything can happen, I suppose, when it comes to the LSD squads. So against the former LMS Titans. So yeah, it's been a rough 2 games, I suppose, as an LSD fan.
Well, you say LSD fan, you would have been still happy for that Nova Esports victory. Nonetheless, that is going to be the end of our broadcast. Thank you guys for joining on in from myself, Riku Brace, and the rest of the production team. We'll see you guys all next week with the PCS action